Hello, this is how to handle a financial windfall for writers. They say 80% of people that get windfalls blow through the money within 5 years, and they resent ever getting the money in the first place. How can that be? Fascinating. Let's dig into this, why this happens, and how you, my writer friend, can be totally prepared to get your windfalls in your awesome writing career. This is a video for you if you are raw talent writer and you have the dream to become a creative, professional screenwriter. And I am a Hollywood screenwriter, 40 screenplays, and I also love coaching writers to become professional as soon as possible. I love them both. Let's get into this clip. So this is 3 ways to handle a financial windfall as a writer. Let's first get into why it would happen. Like, why would it be a problem to have the lot of money? And the reason is, it's really kind of interesting. And you see it a lot. You see it with like pro athletes or anybody that gets famous kind of boom, quickly, or somebody exits a business, or, gets a family inheritance or lottery. It's what happens is your lifestyle design significantly changes. Again, not everybody, but probably 80%. I don't know where that stat comes from, but it feels like it certainly could be true. What happens is your lifestyle design is totally different. If you are living a life where you're like doing a job, getting paid, spending the money, doing the job, and basically living month to month, there's a whole set of rhythms and agreements that are locked in. And if all of a sudden you're jettisoned out of that matrix into a world where you kind of don't have to do anything, you just have, like, I don't know, maybe a financial advisor or whatever, it's a radical change. And if you're talking about one of these, it came from being a professional athlete or somehow professional in some way, at a time when you're excited because you're ascending to a new level, everybody else is coming at you, especially if it's like a public, like lottery or something, with their hand out. You have to be able to set boundaries really well. You have to be able to, it's a mind F. And by the way, you're a human being, so you have really all the same problems you had before you take along with you. So you're not quite, it didn't solve all your problems in the way you thought it did. Everybody else kind of thinks it did. And so it is an absolute existential crisis for the majority of people. So I want you to be prepared for this wonderful, high quality problem. So I'll give you 3 tips on what to do. So one practical thing is, whether it's an enormous amount of money or a small amount of money that you can't spend all right now, kind of get to the end of the month or wherever you're living, divide it into 3 pieces. So put a third away where you're literally as far back, like just get a bond, get something. This isn't like financial advice. Like, I'm not a financial guy, I'm a coach. So don't take it for real financial advice, get a financial advisor, but basically some way that you can't easily access it, but like you don't need it right away. Take a third, put it down the road. 1/3 where it's somewhat accessible, maybe a little a higher investment sort of thing, maybe an index fund or something like that. Again, financial advice, don't take it from me, just take the principles from me. But you have a little bit of access, it's getting a little bit of money, and then the third is like you can actually play with it. And of course, if it's a big windfall, you go, you enjoy yourself, you travel, whatever. But like that's going to get old quickly. You want to get down to like doing what you want to do most, which is, if you're a storyteller, write screenplays at a professional level. So that's, be smart about it. Hire a really good financial advisor, number 1, and number 2, a very significant tactical thing is just think of it in 3 pieces. That way you're not going to burn through it too quickly. With that one simple tactic. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, if you got that money because you wrote something, you're now facing a really significant challenge with the sophomore slump. You might do something too similar. You might do something too different. It's a really difficult thing to navigate. So I know an A-list screenwriter who his representation was really tight about, like, he got known. He won the Nickel Fellowship for writing a thriller. And they were basically serving up thrillers or horror. And he was like, no, I got this romantic comedy. They're like, no, we don't care. Right? It was interesting. So he kind of instinctively wanted to do something kind of different. They were like, no, you're going to stay in this box. And then he ended up being good advice. He slowly built out. And now he's eventually, not even all genres, but a wider range of genres. But started with a pretty narrow box. That's number 1. Number 2 example of a problem. Like Ed Burns, who did Brothers McMullen, he's written lots of things since then. These are references from like late 80s, early 90s. But Ed Burns broke through this movie called Brothers McMullen and Sundance, and then did his second movie, that I remember some snarky review. It was called She's the One, and the review was like she's the same, right? I think in a way he kind of leaned into what he did with Brothers McMullen in a way that was kind of too similar, right? So I think that's an interesting example. Two independent filmmakers of that era that did a little bit better, to my mind, are Richard Linklater, who started with Slacker, which was this very experimental movie with these people kind of conversations around Austin, but very experimental. And then Dazed and Confused was his sophomore movie, which was kind of like American Graffiti. It was like a high school sort of coming of age piece. So it was a progression. It was a nice mix of the same but different. It was adjacent. It wasn't too wildly different. It wasn't too similar. And then Wes Anderson, I thought, made a wonderful progression from his first to his second. His first one was Bottle Rocket, which actually I really like a lot. The second one was Rushmore, and it was enough like Bottle Rocket in terms of the charm, in terms of his sensibility, but it was different enough to kind of expand on his vision as a writer-director, right? So you as a screenwriter, most of the people here listening to this will probably be spec screenplay spec screenwriters who want to write spec screenplays. So you want to think about something that's adjacent and expansive. So not exactly what you just did and not something that's too different. That will help you navigate sophomore slump. Number 3, let's say you have a hit show or movie and you literally get it hits so hard you like don't have your bills are paid for life. Hopefully because you're writing, but it could be something else. It's actually, if you're a writer and you win the lottery, that's a mind F in a really interesting way because you didn't really earn it in the way that you wanted to earn it. So you're going to have almost certainly some really deep psychological stuff to sort through. But let's say you did earn, like your TV show blew up or whatever happens. And literally from the stuff that you created, you now have money for life. Again, high quality problem. And I hope you have this problem. And yet it's a real problem because all of a sudden your existence will shift. And now you have this giant bear or problem on your shoulder because you're like, can you ever outdo what you just did? Like now you're living in the shadow of this one big breakthrough. And that will mother effing haunt you if you don't deal with it in the right way. If you do it the right way, it's totally fine. Like, who cares? But like, you will care. And almost certainly you are not ready to prepare to deal with that. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful and kind of an interesting topic for, I get that most of you probably aren't dealing with this problem and you're probably fantasizing about dealing with it at some point. So if you ever do deal with it, come to me, I'll help you. I have dealt with windfalls and they're fascinating and troublesome and a total blessing, but you want to be aware of the blessing and the burden. So if that's you or somebody send them to me, I'll help. Otherwise, keep fantasizing about it, prepare for it, and do everything you can do to get there as soon as possible and be ready for that amazing outcome. So I got lots of love.